Hello and welcome to the Football Parliament podcast, your one stop destination for your football debates, opinions, and discussions. Or you could call it the Chelsea Parliament podcast for today, as I'm joined by Chirag Gupta, another Chelsea fan. I'm back wearing my 21-22 home kit, and today we're going to be discussing all about transfers because it's the transfer windows, and Chelsea currently are in talks of the biggest transfer move of the summer, which is Borussia Dortmund's talent, Erling Haaland. Yesterday, Fabrizio Romano went on a live stream on Twitch. I was lucky enough to see the entire stream. Today, we're going to be giving you updates on Haaland, not just Haaland, but the other Chelsea players, some loanees, some youngsters, some academy players. Basically, Chelsea transfers all wrapped up in one video. Chirag, where should we start?
First of all, how's you? Like long time no see. We have been so off. So sorry to the audience as well. We were not able to post regularly, but definitely we are back and we will be doing everything best. And we should start with Erling Haaland. Definitely.
For sure, for sure. We should start with Erling Haaland. Yesterday, as I said, Fabrizio Romano went live on Twitch with Jan Fiedkrof. He happens to be a ex Borussia Dortmund player, also a journalist now. Uh, to sum it, I'll tell
Yeah, and
you
I give for
very,
sure.
yeah, I'll tell it very directly. There was no new news. It was all recycled news that we have been hearing from the past 2 to 3 weeks now. Chelsea are interested in Erling Haaland as their number one target. There is no agreement between the club and the player, which includes not only the player but also his agent, his other representatives like his father. And one also very interesting point highlighted by Jan Fidroff was that Callum Hudson-Odoi is not in the long-term plans of Thomas Tuchel because Fabrizio was talking about how Chelsea will have to sell players to uh, make up money for Ireland, and that's when actually Jan said that players like Hakim Ziyech, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Tammy Abraham don't find the places in the long-term plan of Tuchel. So how reliable is that? I'm not so sure. Maybe he just said it a bit casually, but that is something that uh, is a bit of shocker to the Chelsea fans because Hudson-Odoi is a player that has been, getting shots being one of the best players of the coming generation. So Chirag, what do you think about that?
See, first of all, talking about the players Jan mentioned, first of all, he's a very reliable source of
Okay.
anything related to Chelsea and especially related to Haaland because he has played with his dad, Haaland's dad, and is also in very good connection with the Manu team. So I would say that Erling Haaland, all the information around Haaland is correct because first of all, getting 150 million, you need to get your mindset correct, you need to get your finances correct, and then you can go and put up a bid. And that
Yeah.
also a processing of a bid goes up very long. You first go for the lowest offer that you can go for, then you day by day go in conversation, do talks, and then do an agreement on a fees, and then you have to agree the personal terms as well. So that is a
Yeah.
very long process before going into that. But talking about the players he mentioned, see, first of all, I like to mention the three players he named. All the three players were the very first players to come into Chelsea training for the first time this season. And what I believe from what I have learned from preseason in my experience is no players are rushing to the training ground if they are not the part of the first team. According to me, see, if you have the Tammy Abraham, obviously he was not the best choice for Tuchel, but definitely Tuchel can improve with him this year, and maybe the bond that Tammy Abraham has Tuchel have shared. I have not heard any rumors from any journalist or from both of the player and the manager as well that they have a rift between them.
Yeah,
Obviously, they
that's
do not
true.
go well in on the pitch, but they're
Yeah.
very good people off the pitch. And obviously, Tuchel can work with him if Chelsea do not get any target because getting a number nine except Haaland is also a very difficult situation because there is no number nine who can directly fit in right now if Chelsea do not go for Haaland.
That's true. I
Also going
mean,
for Cannon,
yeah,
yeah,
a club like Chelsea aren't just going to be settling for any other number nine. We already have, to remind you, Werner and Kai Havertz who can play over there. And we do know that both of them are great players. Okay, Werner did miss a lot of chances this season, but he is a good player overall. That is why he scored so many goals in the Bundesliga and did fairly well in the Premier League in the first season. Havertz, he's been so impressive in the second half of the season. And equally in the Euros as well. So if you actually want to buy a player, you need to at least cross the Werner and Havertz level. The only
exactly.
three or four strikers in world football, I think that Chelsea will should buy and would put in right as the first choice number nine would be either Erling Haaland. The issue comes with the price tag 175 million. The other strikers are Harry Kane. He's a direct rival. Daniel Levy is not going to sell him. Romelu Lukaku, he has officially said that he's happy at Inter Milan. And finally, Robert Lewandowski, he's not looking to come either. So I think these are the only four to five strikers that would actually, you know, be nailed on first choice starters for Chelsea. With the other three unlikely, it's all about Haaland. The interesting part about Haaland does come that next season he has a release clause in his contract, which makes stuff very, very interesting because the release clause is as low as 75 to 80 million, which is, you could say, a future bargain for someone who's been the quality of Erling Haaland. You also have to keep the resale price in mind that suppose Haaland takes the Premier League as a step to some club like Real Madrid. So if you could say a club like Chelsea buys him Haaland for 70 to 80 million next summer, when they in turn sell them to Real Madrid, they're sure to make a profit because the market is inflating day after day. So Borussia Dortmund, if they do get a 175 million offer from Chelsea this summer, they will have to evaluate the number of games. Will keeping Haaland for just one single season give you 100 million of pounds? I doubt so. I really doubt so.
So I'll pitch in something here. See, what I heard from a number of people around Chelsea was that Chelsea might even do a thing which benefits everyone. Right now, Dortmund wants a striker who can play for them this season with Sancho leaving. We know Sancho's deal is done, so they do definitely need a person who can go for uh, as a number nine or who could just put in goals that they want. So they have only two options: to get a striker or to go for either keeping Erling Haaland. What Chelsea can do is two things I can see. First of all, I have heard the latest news where Tammy Abraham's interest from Aston Villa and West Ham has been rejected by Chelsea. So one thing they can do is offer Tammy Abraham to Dortmund in return of Erling Haaland. And one more thing that I have been seeing is buy Erling Haaland right now and but loaning him to Dortmund for the next season so that he stays at Dortmund for this season. And Chelsea also pay around 140 million, that is a bit lower than 175 million. And obviously, Dortmund has to pay the loan fee to Chelsea this year. But Chelsea can go for an 1 year striker, maybe in a Danny Ings or a veteran striker who can just put in goals this season. Or maybe a second fidget to Havertz, who is already performing well, and get Haaland the next season. That is a very complicated deal to get in because I don't know if Haaland will agree with such a thing or not. Because next, if he stays this year, he will his first priority will not be Chelsea next year. We all know that fact. His
That's the
priority
main
might
issue.
be a Bayern Munich, a Real Madrid, or maybe an FC Barcelona if they have the funds. So definitely he is not going to come to the blue side of the London. And talking about other things that Jan mentioned was Callum Hudson-Odoi. I really don't know if that is a very reliable news because Tuchel is a fan of Callum Hudson-Odoi. We saw him in the very first game. He had to fit in Callum Hudson-Odoi anywhere. He made a new position in the right wing back position where he
Yeah,
did put in Callum Hudson-Odoi. And obviously, Callum is a very happy player. We know he has been getting interest from Bayern Munich and the likes of PSG, where he could easily go and become a starter because of the quality that he possesses. So I really don't know if Callum Hudson-Odoi is not in the plans of Tuchel. And also, I would like to mention that everyone is writing off Ziyech so easily that he is not a player for Chelsea anymore. But I will say, if we Chelsea is going for a back four, or even if they are going for a back three, Hakim Ziyech should be that important substitute. When you need a goal, you put in a striker who can head in a goal, a complete number nine, an extra man in the last 20 minutes. And you can
yeah,
even put a Hakim Ziyech who can always provide you with that pinpoint process that will help you to get in the score. And also talking about Hakim Ziyech, like I was penning down an article and I was thinking, who right now is the Mason Mount's uh, current direct substitute? Who is the cam who can replace Mason Mount right now? Definitely not Havertz because he's more of an attacking player. Definitely not a Kovacic or Jorginho because
yeah,
are more
that's so
defensive than Mason Mount. So who is the right replacement to him? Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic play on more on a wider role. So I think
that's true.
Ziyech, who has played as a cam most of his career in the Ajax team, can definitely fill in that role according to me. So according to me, Ziyech, not Ziyech, yeah, Ziyech should be in the Chelsea team right now. I don't know the rest. What Jan says, what is the real news is.
Yeah, for sure. Now, moving on to some disappointing news. We spoke about Haaland, a lot of hopeful news for Chelsea, and all looked good. But something for the future, something really disappointing comes with our academy starlets. Three of them, actually. As we know, Chelsea have got one of the best academies in the entire of the state. But then the issue is that it comes from that three Chelsea academy starlets, that's Louis Bate, Tino Livramento, and Daniel Simeone, snubs a 2-year deal at Chelsea and is set to sign for a Premier League club next week, as per the Secret Scout, which is a good, fairly reliable source. So three very talented academy players have been seeing Chelsea development squad games all season. To be very honest, I've been extremely impressed by both Bate and Livramento in particular. He's just putting in balls from the right all game long. And Bate, he's got a left foot of a wonder. So, what do you think about these three very talented players not designed to?
First of all, this is a very vague news that is coming out right now because every youngster has a, I'll say, a managing company behind him, or a manager, or a whatever you can say, that they have someone behind them right now. But definitely these news are just coming out so that that Chelsea really looks upon these talents. Simmons, Bate, and Livramento all are very highly regarded by the Chelsea academy, anyone around the academy, the coaching staff, the player staff, even the team management. First of all, Tino Livramento will definitely have a role at Chelsea this year because we know how desperate Tuchel was for Hakimi. And if he is
Yeah,
not getting Hakimi, Livramento gets his spot easily. And also, we are letting go of our two left wing backs, I will say, in Marcus Alonso and Emerson, because we are going for a back five. So definitely we need a cover for Ben Chilwell. And that will be Tino Livramento, who can play on both the sides as he has been doing for the academy. And Louis Bate, I really don't know if that situation is really fine, but obviously Bate will have a lot of competition in the center of the pitch. Talking about
yeah,
other
yeah,
Chelsea players in the preseason, we have Conor Gallagher returning, we have Barkley returning, we have Ruben Loftus-Cheek returning, and we still have the core of the midfield that we had last year, except Billy Gilmore, who will be moving to Norwich, or who has
yeah,
already taken his move to Norwich. So definitely there will be a very big hustle at the back alongside Bakayoko as well, because Bakayoko is also a very good player in contention because he can provide a solidarity if you really need him. Obviously,
yeah,
Chelsea
yeah.
players mock him a lot, but he can do the role if Tuchel wants him to do the role. So I don't know about Bate if he will be agreeing to stay at Chelsea, but definitely they know we are the European champions. The
Yeah.
best part to play or to get the trophies is at Chelsea right now. So I really don't
It's
know
true.
if they really want to go or not. And Simmons, rather I have heard that Tuchel is very impressed by Simmons and he is ready to promote him into the senior team as well. So I really don't know how where this situation is coming from
I
for
think we should
Simmons.
see what happens in the future.
What
Also
a
talking
solution I
about,
can see is send them
yeah,
on loans like we sent Conor Gallagher on loan and then see their development.
yeah, for sure. Talking about other news comes with the returning lone striker Armando Broa, who impressed a lot at Vitesse Aram in the Eredivisie.
That's
He,
yeah.
yeah, in the Dutch league. So there are rumors with both Tammy and Giroud. I think Giroud is already a done deal, and Tammy also looks highly unlikely to leave the bridge. So there are rumors that Broa might be the backup striker for next season. So this is one thing that Chelsea fans can look out for because as much as I've seen Armando, he's an extremely talented player. He's got a great finish in him. He's very fast. He has got the aerial ability, and I'm actually quite excited to see him get some minutes, hopefully in the cup games, in the latter half, some of the easier Premier League games as well. Also, another news comes in with that Dujon Sterling. I think he's the right wing back. And Thomas Tuchel is said to be a big fan of Sterling, and he was actually scouting him in his days at Borussia Dortmund. I mean, Tuchel when he was at Borussia Dortmund. So this is another thing that you could keep your eye on. And do we have any more news to talk about, Thiago?
Yeah, definitely. One news I would like to cover is no one is talking about Mark Gehi in the training camp.
Yeah,
We
that's
know
true.
how good he was, Mark Gehi, in the training in the Fulham last season at Fulham, where he was the man of the match for the semi-finals of the championship playoffs, consecutive matches. I'll say he's a very good player. Chelsea are looking for a centre back. I really don't know why they are looking for a centre back because Mark Gehi is a finished player right now. He can definitely step up in the Premier League as of now and can be a very, very good player and for Chelsea right now. Also, Jules Konde has rejected Spurs, and Chelsea are looking for Jules Konde. So how do you see that situation with Mark Gigi, especially in the perspective of Mark Gigi, I'll say.
I want to talk about the difference between the three biggest clubs of London right now. There's Arsenal, who've just got beaten by some Irish or some Scottish club, it is. And it's Tottenham. Player after player, manager after manager is rejecting them. I mean, Sevilla accepted the bid for Kunde. It was, I think, Davison Sanchez plus 40 million, something like that. And Kunde straight away said no. I mean, and they have the balls to say stuff like London is white or London is red. European champions have some shame. Talking about Kunde, I think he's one very extremely talented player. You know, if you have to judge a player who doesn't necessarily play in the Premier League, someone who plays in the La Liga like Kunde, you don't exactly see La Liga week in and week out. You form your opinions on the player about the opinions that some of the highly ranked pundits or even social media platforms like Instagram pages. Suppose you follow a particular page that you rate quite well, and that page rates Kundel quite well. You automatically have that feeling for Jules Kundel. I haven't seen a lot of Jules Kundel, but the kind of praises I've heard from Jules Kundel from highly ranked football pundits from football pages in my mind makes me believe that he is quite a good player. We saw him at the Euros at France, but he was playing out of position. He was playing at right back, so he didn't look the most threatening going ahead. At centre back, I've heard high praises of him. I saw him in the Europa League, and I'm really convinced that he will be a good fit. Do Chelsea need him? Is a question. There are rumors of Kurt Zuma leaving as well. Thiago Silva is aging. We all are aware of that. Fikayo Tomori has already moved on to AC Milan. Chelsea might play with the back, most probably, I'm sorry, will play with a back three. So we might need the extra centre back. I just don't know if that is the part of the squad that we should heavily invest on. According to me, it's Haaland before anything, even before Declan Rice. Because if Declan Rice comes to Chelsea, I don't even see him starting over Jorginho right now. The kind of form that Jorginho is, I don't see Declan Rice starting for Chelsea right now. So yeah, I think it's Haaland before anything for Chelsea, for sure.
So if you have just mentioned Declan Rice as well, see when Frank Lampard was in charge at Chelsea, one news that was popping everywhere was Declan Rice to Chelsea, but as a centre back. So do you see still that happening with Chelsea in the back three?
I mean, Declan Rice does provide the versatility that he can play at defensive mid and centre back as well. Now, just the thing is that during Lampard, I was completely against those rumors because Declan Rice was consistently playing as a defensive mid for West Ham. To move him into a completely different position, which is already weak into your squad, was a bit of a silly decision for according to me. But now the Chelsea play in the back three, I think this decision makes a lot more sense because if you see the this is something that people don't speak about enough, but the defensive mid position and the third or the most, you could say, advanced
Centre
centre
back.
back, yeah, is, you could say, slightly similar. I think it is, and that is probably where Declan Rice might fit in. But as I've already said, Chelsea are quite stacked, not only in the center of the park, but also in the center of defense as well. You've got Billy Gilmour returning from loan next season. You've got I mentioned Louis Bate. I also said there's Conor Gallagher, who's been great at loan at West Brom. There is Loftus Cheek, probably, if he can replicate his 2018-19 form. So for now, I don't think that Declan Rice is a necessity. He can be an option if we fail to sign Haaland, but if there is a choice to be made where the money should be allocated, I think it's all in for Haaland. Another issue that comes in with Haaland is, I forgot to mention the earlier about the podcast, is the commission that, or the bonus that is being demanded by Mino Raiola. 40 million is being demanded by Raiola, just the agent. I repeat, this 40 million, I don't think it's a part of the 175 million that we speak about. So we speak about 175 million, which in itself seems a lot. It's actually a lot more than that. There's a signing bonus
I'll
that,
I'll just say I
yeah,
heard Fabrizio in his earlier podcast once mentioning that if Chelsea were to get through the Haaland deal, it will cost them around 300 million over the 5-year deal that they will crack on. 300 million for a 5-year deal, and you can understand how much expensive it will be, and it can even go up to 400 millions.
that's true. I think that'll be a ridiculous sum of money for. But then it's Erling Haaland. You don't see players like Haaland each and every day. He, according to me, is undoubtedly a generational talent. And as I said, if Haaland doesn't want to necessarily go right to the top, to the to the La Liga with the Real Madrid or Barcelona, or probably even Bayern for that matter, he needs a stepping stone, which could be provided by a Premier League club, probably Chelsea. So consider Haaland signs for Chelsea next this season. He plays 5 to 6 good seasons at Chelsea, not necessarily the way he's played for Dortmund, because I don't think that the Bundesliga form can be very easily replicated in the Premier League. That's a very big ask. But even if he plays good at Chelsea, I think Chelsea will be able to recover the money from selling the player because the market is inflating, as I've said, and yeah, he will be at his prime at that time.
And maybe even staying at Chelsea, Chelsea can become the superpower they are aiming for the last two
Yeah,
seasons. Definitely.
I could
No one
solve
knows.
Chelsea's long hunt for a number nine. I think we haven't had a proper number nine since when? Didier Drogba. We wouldn't
No,
even
no, no.
call.
I'd still say Diego Costa took that position very well during his days, but not
Yeah,
as quality. I will say still not the quality we were aiming for, and not the
yeah,
time span we were aiming for.
definitely not the time span. At the time of Diego Costa, okay, we won the 16, 17 Premier League, but then that was a kind of a barren run for Chelsea FC. I think it was just Costa and Hazard who was doing all the work. So one thing, and Costa, the number nine jersey curse, he wasn't the number nine jersey taker. Even Drogba as a player, I wouldn't say that he was like a typical number nine. He dropped quite deep to make space for Lampard, who made the further runs. All in all, I mean that Chelsea do need someone who can poach onto balls, who's a fox in the box. I just feel like Erling Haaland is the proper player for this position. I really hope that Chelsea go for him despite the wage and transfer bills. Right. With that, we come to the end of today's podcast. It was a good Chelsea discussion. Haaland, many other players with Chirag. So thank you for listening if you're listening to the end. And for more top quality football content, keep listening to the Football Parliament podcast. Thank you.